good morning to all our viewers and listeners. On behalf of the Chairman, members of the Board of Directors, and the Executive Director of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, I would like to warmly welcome you to this year's first live broadcast of our annual general meeting as we continue to practice physical distancing. I am Simone Downer, and I will be your moderator for this morning's proceedings. Before we formally begin, I invite everyone to listen to and view this beautiful rendition of the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
In the vines of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Hear every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Hear every creed and race find an equal place. And may God bless our nation.
What a truly beautiful rendition. Given the current COVID-19 situation we face globally and the understanding that we are all in this together, I would like to invite each one of you at home right now to share a moment of silent reflection on our life, our health, our family, and our blessings. Thank you. Once again, we welcome you, our viewing and listening audience, to the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation's 38th Annual General Meeting. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Representative of the Auditor General's Office, Mr. Shiva Sinanand, Chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, Professor Jerry C. Brooks, Executive Director of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, Mr. Nigel Edwards, the Board of Directors, Ms. Anne-Marie James, Mr. L. Dominic Rampasad, Mr. Jonathan Walker, Ms. Lorraine Cam, Mr. Douglas Camacho, Mrs. Michelle Derham Kisoon, Mr. Chip Sagooms, Mrs. Charmaine Caballero, Mr. Trevor Nicholas Gomez, Corporate Secretary and General Counsel of the Unit Trust Corporation, Ms. Dawn C. Passad, members of the media. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would now like to invite Professor Jerry C. Brooks to deliver his first welcome remarks as chairman. Professor Brooks.
Thank you very much, Simone. Auditor General's representative, Mr. Shiva Sinanand, Board of Directors of the Unit Trust Corporation, Executive Director of the Unit Trust Corporation, Mr. Nigel Edwards, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, Mr. Dawn C. Prasad, our enterprise leadership team, distinguished unit holders, all 617,000 of us, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning to you all. Today's annual general meeting is a particular honor for me, as it is the corporation's and financial industry's first live digital AGM. It is also a special moment, as this marks my first time addressing you as the new chairman of the Unit Trust Corporation. I am honored to have the opportunity to help to shape one of the great success stories in this part of the investment world. Much like my predecessor, Mr. Justice Ralston Nelson, who served with distinction previously and then again for the past 2 years, and to whom I express my sincere gratitude. Since 1982, the Unit Trust Corporation has inspired a culture of savings and investing, and we continue to set the bar for customer service excellence. We have helped to shape and to support people purchase their homes, pay for their children's university education, and start new businesses, and retire happily and comfortably, secure about their financial future with peace of mind. The corporation has invested in our communities, supported the underprivileged, and assisted in securing the financial well-being of hundreds of thousands of Trinidad and Tobago citizens for generations. That has been our mission from inception, and we will continue to do so. That is the legacy of the Unit Trust Corporation. As I wrote this, the entire world has been grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic, and our hearts and prayers go to those in our country who have been impacted by its challenges. At the same time, we appreciate that the impact of the pandemic on personal earnings, on business, on our society has been significant, and we are here to give our support and to help our country successfully navigate these challenges. We are committed to the collective effort of helping our economy to get back on its feet. But even during this time of uncertainty, we continue to look for opportunities that redound to the benefit of our unit holders. The corporation has negotiated challenges before, and you, our unit holders, have journeyed with us every step of the way. As your new chairman, and as a proud Trinidad and Tobago citizen, I give you the assurance this homegrown investment company remains strong and is going to emerge from this an even stronger corporation, because that is what we have always done when faced with adversities. 2020 thus far has been characterized by heightened market volatility, where some industries thrive and others like aviation, tourism, and energy have faced significant revenue shortfalls and precipitous drops in demand. No one could have predicted that after 10 years of historic gains, a virus would erase trillions of dollars in value in the world's financial markets, and erase it so quickly. But that is the nature of markets. Our experience is that markets will rebound over time, driven by fundamentals. So in light of the foregoing, may I assure you that even as we go through this period of heightened volatility, we will continue to leverage our collective intellect, our experience, and our energy to protect your investments and to deliver long-term value for you, our unit holders. That's our commitment. However, the only way that we benefit from this value I speak of is to have a long-term mindset and to remain invested in our Unit Trust Corporation. This very long-term mindset that has allowed us to deliver truly impressive results for unit holders in 2019. In fact, you'll recall, at the beginning of 2019, the corporation challenged itself to go beyond the norm, beyond our usual targets. And I am happy to report, by virtue of our thoughtful and our well-executed business strategies, we were able to exceed our targets. We have an excellent leadership team at the UTC, led by our very capable Executive Director, Nigel Edwards. The most recent testimony of this is our 2019 excellent financial performance. Consequently, I say with confidence, the business fundamentals of the Unit Trust is strong. The business fundamentals of the unit trust is strong. Our balance sheet is strong. We have an excellent liquidity position, and operationally we have never been better prepared or more resilient, especially in the face of the current pandemic. 2019 was the second year of our digital transformation plan, and the work we've done has already streamlined our supply chain and our financial management process across the entire organization. Additionally, in 2019, we strengthened our foundation for digital transformation and for technological excellence. These improvements have enabled our team to deliver a more efficient and more personalized customer experience. That combination will be leveraged to help us win new customer segments, grow our revenues, and grow our returns. These improvements are also the reason why we were able to make the switch to remote work arrangements within hours of learning of the country's first confirmed case of the coronavirus. It really has been inspiring to watch everyone support each other virtually. We have remained fully operational since we've made a transition. This unrelenting focus on leveraging technology while maintaining the human touch will be a critical pillar for future growth and for strategic advantage. Our focus continues to be on technological upgrades that are aligned to improving customer experience and growing our investor base. Colleagues, while we are incredibly proud of our financial and operational performance in 2019, we believe that doing well is not good enough. We have a duty to do good. We have a duty to do good. Which is why through the UTC Foundation, we continued our work in communities in 2019, making tangible investments in projects focused around education, financial well-being, and environmental citizenship. And we'll continue to make a difference in this country in which we live. And having you all here today is encouragement enough to keep doing this important work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for choosing us as your partners for life. We will continue to do our part, but we have an obligation to do more. It's a tremendous responsibility that we don't treat lightly. We approach, yes, the rest of this year, that's the rest of 2020, and the next with strength, with optimism, and with confidence. The road ahead will be challenging, but our team is well prepared to successfully navigate it and to deliver success. Let me repeat that. The road ahead will be challenging, but our team is well prepared to successfully navigate it and to deliver success. In the meantime, please continue to be safe and continue to act responsibly. It has been an honor to address you today. I thank you. May God bless you and may God keep you safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, for such inspiring words. We notice we have quite a few viewers. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to leave your comments or questions below so that our team of experts can respond. At this time, we would like to invite Mr. Nigel Edwards, Executive Director, to present his report. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Simone. Representative of the Auditor General's Office, Mr. Shiva Sinanan, Chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, Professor Jerry C. Brooks, welcome. Members of the Board, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, Ms. Dawn C. Prasad, fellow members of my enterprise leadership team, distinguished unit holders, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose I can start by saying my only regret is that I'm not there to see your faces in person. That being said, I do want to, on behalf of this great team of people that I lead at the Unit Trust Corporation, to express my deepest gratitude for the privilege of addressing you at today's annual general meeting. I'd like to start by reporting on the year that's just passed, 2019. In 2019, the corporation's total income grew impressively by $1 billion from $300 million in 2018 to $1.3 billion. Inclusive of all of our funds, we were able to generate total net income of $1.1 billion. In addition, I'm pleased to share some positive results with you. We saw an increase in total distribution to unit holders of $16 million to $265 million, up from $249 million in 2018. We saw an improvement in net income of $134 million to $99 million this year. During 2019, we reduced our expenses by $10 million, and our total assets grew by 3.9% from $22 billion up to $22.8 billion. We saw a significantly enhanced cash position of $1.2 billion from $2.1 billion in 2018 up to $3.3 billion. As you can see, it was quite a phenomenal year. It was a year in which the Caribbean Information and Credit Services Limited, or CARICRIS, respected Caribbean Regional Rating Agency, once again gave the corporation a stellar rating for its performance and for its astute investment management. Now, you may also recall in 2019, when I delivered remarks to you, that we spoke about the potential for volatile earnings from one period to the next. That was driven primarily by the new accounting standard IFRS 9, which required us to put changes in the fair value of our investment securities through our statement of consolidated income. These changes have a lot to do with how we now report our earnings. When changes in the net asset values of those securities are positive, you saw the kind of stellar results that we had in 2019. Fast forward to the first quarter of 2020. We started this year full of hope. There was a general sense of investor optimism, and the financial markets were performing creditably. However, by mid-March, we saw a very different reality, and the global financial markets were reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. The US market fell by 20% in the first quarter of 2020. And that's against a historic bull run, 10 years of consecutive positive results. To put that into context, if somebody had invested in the US market at the beginning of 2020, and you had $5 at the start of 2020, you lost one of those $5 by March of 2020. Very significant downward movement in the market. In Trinidad and Tobago, for the first quarter of 2020, the stock market fell by some 11.5%. Across the globe, that was the reality of financial markets during the first few months of 2020. And it's against that backdrop that the UTC reported a loss of $45.8 billion for the first quarter of 2020. Having said that, there are some consistent operations highlights that I'd like to draw to your attention. Firstly, our focus on operational efficiency and expense management. In 2019, we managed to reduce our operating expenses by $10 million from $297 million in 2018 down to $287 million. We're conscious that as we become more efficient and as we manage those operational expenses, it enhances our ability to pay out to our unit holders. Similarly, in the first quarter of 2020, we also focused on reducing expenses and reduced expenses so far this year by $2 million from $70 million in 2019 down to $68 million at the end of Q1 2020. So, consistent with our relentless focus on creating unit holder value, we also increased our distribution to unit holders in 2019 by as much as $16 million, up from $249 million the previous year. And so far this year in 2020, we have increased our distribution by $11 million in one quarter, from $43 million last year to $54 million so far in 2020. Fellow unit holders, I'd like to share what we are now seeing in respect of changes to asset values, the result of a global reality. And this is a reminder that we at UTC are not immune to global disruptions. Our investments in quality companies such as Facebook, Apple, Procter & Gamble, Delta, the Halliburtons of this world, had all at some point experienced price fluctuations, and in some instances, major reversals in their value. Even the giants of this world are not immune to market declines. So, Anticipating further sharp market declines, we took some very proactive steps in March to exit many of our investments in international equities and to manage our portfolio very dynamically so that we would protect unit holders from further loss. Those early actions were in line with the corporation's risk mitigation strategy, and they helped us to minimize the declines. We at the UTC remain deeply concerned with the uncertainty and the challenges surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, and most of all, with the toll that this virus has taken on our communities, our economy, and our loved ones. But we're thankful for the tough decisions that are being made at the highest levels. We're thankful for the commitment of our healthcare workers and for other frontline workers, and we're grateful that we're seeing signs that the country is slowly returning to normal. We give you the assurance that we will do our part to support, to reinvent our economy and to rebuild our country. You know, we've become so accustomed to calling this pandemic unprecedented that during the crisis I've been often thinking about comparatives in my own life history. Of course, I couldn't find anything in my own personal history, but I do remember stories from my father, who unfortunately is now deceased. And he would tell me stories about the rationing that he and others of his generation had to endure during the Second World War. And as I thought about that, it struck me that his generation only ever saw the loss of life on this scale that was associated directly with the World War. But that's the reality that we're dealing with today. Loss of life and at scale, but occurring without anyone firing a single shot. In the financial markets, we have not ever in modern times seen a situation in which more than half of the world's population has faced some type of lockdown. We've not seen the suspension of global travel or negative oil prices ever. Yet, amidst that turbulence, the UTC remains resilient and we're standing firm. We remain a financial pillar in the landscape of our beloved Trinidad and Tobago. We're very liquid. We have healthy cash balances and we have solid reserves, all of which have us well placed to navigate both the short-term and the long-term uncertainty. That's the financial picture of your corporation as I address you today. One of the things that we remain very conscious of is the reality that this pandemic is filled with opportunity, and we're very focused on adding value through those opportunities. I'll share with you a little secret. I like to visit our investment centers, and in particular to observe the customers and the customer traffic. And so sometimes I walk the floor of our Port of Spain Investment Center. And since March, I have virtually been camped out on the mezzanine floor of our Independence Square office here. That's allowed me to be very close to our customers. And I noticed something that I find interesting. In our investment center, unit holders who are transacting business must join one of two lines. Either the line to take money out or the line to put money into the corporation. I find it very interesting that since the pandemic started, the second line, the one to put money in, is usually longer than the other one on any given day. Now, it may not be the most scientific gauge, but as I talk to unit holders, the picture that is emerging is that the crisis of our time is actually motivating people to invest. They are choosing an entirely different narrative altogether. That is, one of strengthening their financial lives. And we want to steer that wealth creation process. These are the people for whom the COVID-19 pandemic was a catalyst to build up their emergency fund so that they can cope with the next sudden drop in income or the next unexpected trauma or even an economic slowdown caused by a deadly pathogen. We want to be there for those who want to give their children a higher education, or for the entrepreneurs setting out on a new business, for those working mothers who are counting the years to retirement but still filled with hope, for fathers thinking seriously about their children's future, and young people who are investing for the very first time. That's the other big story of this pandemic. And it reminds me of a quote I read recently by Harvard professor Arthur C. Brooks. This is not the same as our very own Professor Brooks. This is a different Professor Brooks. And this Professor Brooks said, happiness in retirement depends on your choice of narrative. So today, I want to encourage unit holders to choose the right narrative. Yes, there's uncertainty, but we choose to see opportunity. It's a choice that is worth making, and we assure you that if you do, you will have a partner for life in the UTC like no other. Now, we'll also be making some changes too. After careful analysis, we've decided to discontinue the operations of our Bureau de Change effective 1st of August 2020. The Bureau was introduced in 1995, some 25 years ago, as a way for unit holders to access foreign exchange. The business of the Bureau, as you may know, is to purchase cash currency from members of the public, and then that currency could be sold back to other members of the public. The reality of the foreign exchange market for us has been that there's very little supply of cash currency to be purchased, and consequently, there's very little available to be made available to the public. Moreover, unlike commercial banks, UTC is not a primary dealer of foreign currency, and we're therefore not in receipt of an allocation from the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. Our supply is entirely dependent on what we purchase from customers and what we can buy from other financial institutions. At the moment, we operate 9 bureaux de change from each investment center location. But this business line represents less than 1% of our overall business. Most importantly, though, the Bureau de Change is not aligned to our core business function, which is the creation of wealth for our unit holders. And that's what we remain fully committed to and focused on. Fellow unit holders, our numbers are positive. The performance in 2019 is just a part of that picture. Operationally, we have never been stronger. Since the pandemic began, we've taken steps to increase operational contingencies related to business continuity, to employee safety and client confidentiality, ensuring that the business remains fully operational despite the COVID-19 fallout. But the foundation for this work had been laid last year. In 2019, we made deep investments in the state-of-the-art digital technology to meet the needs of the more than 617,000 unit and businesses. I want to emphasize that our approach to digital transformation has been holistic. It involves a shift in our team's mindset together with the utilization of technology to reduce operating costs, increase operational efficiencies, and most importantly, to provide a more meaningful customer experience. It's all about winning new customer segments and discovering ways to differentiate ourselves, to stand apart as your investment beacon. And with an eye to the future, digital technology will help us assess our growth opportunities, especially those that align strongly with our strategic objectives. At the same time, we know that technology is just a tool. And what drives the Unit Trust Corporation isn't just technology, it's relationships, the long-lasting ones, the ones that bring value to us and to you. This is why we redoubled our efforts last year to connect with the demographic of investors through ideas such as our UTC's analyst games. It is why we continue to lift people in the communities that we serve through the UTC Foundation. It's our way of holding ourselves accountable to our social mandate, to make a difference in the lives of people that we serve, and to bring value in all the decisions that we make. Our entire team will continue to dig deep throughout 2020, and we aim to achieve the best results even in this environment. Looking to the future, we fully intend to keep leveraging our collective intelligence, our strong brand, and our legacy to continue creating value for our unit holders and deepening our bonds with the people across the region. Exciting changes are also coming. New digital tools, enhanced customer experience, and additional investment products, all to better serve you. Even though we're 38 years old, we're on a path to continuous innovation that puts us ahead of the curve and consistently raises the bar of performance. Warren Buffett once said, if you think a company will be around 20 years from now, then it's probably a safe investment. Well, I have the confidence that the Unit Trust Corporation will be here for 38 more years and well beyond that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your trust and your loyalty. I also want to take the opportunity to thank our board for the role that they play in keeping your corporation growing and changing, but with the oversight that keeps you safe. Thank you to my team. These are the people who do all in their power to continue serving you with excellence. It's been a pleasure addressing you at today's AGM, and I look forward to responding to your questions, albeit in a slightly different format this year. Starting at 1 today, I'll be responding to your questions via Facebook Live. Join me as we embrace with me the digital way. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for that well-expressed, informative report. I think this gives us a clear direction of where the UTC stands and its vision for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tuned in, you are viewing and listening to the Unit Trust Corporation's first live annual general meeting broadcast. We just heard from the chairman and the executive director. If you missed any of it, we will have a replay at 12 noon. Check out our website at www.ttutc.com or our Facebook page at the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation. I would now call on the Auditor General's representative, Mr. Shiva Sinanan, to present the Auditor General's report. Mr. Sinanan.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. The Chairman of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, Professor Jerry C. Brooks, other board members, the Executive Director of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, Mr. Nigel Edwards, General Counsel and Corporate Secretary, Ms. Dawn C. Prasad, the Enterprise Leadership Team, employees, unit holders of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, I now read for you the audit report. To the Board of Directors, Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation. Report of the Auditor General of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on the consolidated financial statements of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation for the year ended 31st December 2019. Opinion. The consolidated financial statements of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation, the corporation, for the year ended 31st December 2019 have been audited. The statements as set out on pages 1 to 67 comprise a consolidated statement of financial position as at 31st December 2019, a consolidated statement of profit or loss, a consolidated statement of comprehensive income, a consolidated statement of changes in equity, and a consolidated statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated financial statements numbered 1 to 31, including a summary of significant accounting policies. In my opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the consolidated financial position of the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation as at 31st December 2019, and of its consolidated financial performance and its consolidated cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS. Basis for opinion. The audit was conducted in accordance with accepted auditing standards. The Auditor General's responsibilities under those standards are further described in the Auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of this report. The Auditor General is independent of the corporation in accordance with the ethical requirements that are relevant to the audit of the financial statements, and other ethical responsibilities have been fulfilled in accordance with these requirements. It is my view that the audit evidence obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for my opinion. Responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. Management of the corporation is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of these consolidated financial statements in accordance with IFRS, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the consolidated financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the corporation's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing, as applicable, matters related to going concern and using the going concern basis of accounting, unless management either intends to liquidate the corporation or to cease operations, or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the corporation's financial reporting process. Auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. The Auditor General's responsibility is to express an opinion on these consolidated financial statements based on the audit and to report thereon in accordance with Section 30, Paragraph 4 of the Unit Trust Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago Act, Chapter 8303. The Auditor General's objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an audit report that includes his opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with auditing standards will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if, individually or in the aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of an audit in accordance with accepted auditing standards, the Auditor General exercises professional judgment and maintains professional skepticism throughout the audit. The Auditor General also identifies and assesses the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, designs and performs audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtains audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for an opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than for one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal control. Obtains an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the internal control of the corporation. Evaluates the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Concludes on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting and, based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the ability of the corporation to continue as a going concern. If the Auditor General concludes that a material uncertainty exists, the Auditor General is required to draw attention in his audit report to the related disclosures in the financial statements, or, if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify his opinion. The Auditor General's conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of his audit report. However, future events or conditions may cause the corporation to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluates the overall presentation, structure, and content of the financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. Obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the financial information of the entities or business activities within the corporation to express an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. The Auditor General is responsible for the direction, supervision, and performance of the audit of the corporation. The Auditor General remains solely responsible for his audit opinion. The Auditor General communicates with those charged with governance regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that were identified during the audit. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Unit Trust Corporation, Chapter 8303, Paragraph 12(1) states, open quote, "The board shall meet not less than 6 times a year and at least once every 2 months and shall observe such rules of procedure in the transaction of business at its meetings as may be made by the board," close quote. During the financial period, the Board of Directors did not meet at least 6 times a year and at least once every 2 months as required by the Unit Trust Corporation Act, Chapter 8303, because of the non-appointment of a chairman on expiration of the office holder's term of office. A chairman of the Board of Directors was appointed in March 2020. Laurelie Pujadas, Auditor General, 27th March 2020, Port of Spain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sinanan, and the Auditor General's Office for that report. You can find this report and the corporation's financials on our website. That address is www.ttutc.com. We would now like to invite our chairman once again to present his closing remarks. Professor Brooks.
Thank you, Simone, and morning again, unit holders. I'd like to end on a note of gratitude by firstly paying tribute to our long-standing board members, Mr. Leonardo Ambrose, Mrs. Helen Drayton, whose tenures ended in 2019, as well as Mr. Ruben McSween and Mr. John Tangyang, whose terms ended in 2020. On behalf of the corporation, we extend to you our heartfelt gratitude. Allow me to also welcome new members of our board, Mr. Charmin Caballero, Mr. Chip Sagoms, and Mr. Nicholas Gomez. The latter joined us on March 6, 2020. I look forward to working with you and other members of the board as we navigate the current challenging environment. Secondly, allow me to thank you, our valued unit holders, once again, and I ask that you remember patience, sound investment, and strategy are the keys to enduring financial success. Based on 30 years of results, you can trust us at UTC to provide the required guidance to successfully navigate this current pandemic. In concluding, may I ask that you continue to trust our expertise, trust our judgment, and that you remain invested to allow your hard-earned savings the time to work for you. We are confident that in the future, you and your loved ones will be rewarded by your patience, by our industry, by our diligence, and by our analysis. So thank you once again. Be safe, and may God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman. Truly words for reflection. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our meeting. We encourage you to continue submitting your comments and feedback. Also, as mentioned by our Executive Director, he will be available to answer your questions via our Facebook page at the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation's Facebook Live from 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. this afternoon. If you tuned in a little earlier, prior to the start of the meeting, you may have seen a video showcasing some of the initiatives of the corporation. As we conclude, we invite you to stay on to view these initiatives. We thank you for attending the Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation's 38th Annual General Meeting's first live broadcast. Please continue to practice physical distancing and maintain the safety of yourselves and your family. May God bless the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
The unit trust reaches every Trinidad and Tobago citizen in one way or the other.
The Unit Trust Corporation is one of the largest financial institutions in our country as well as in the Caribbean as a whole.
Our mission is to ensure the financial well-being and security of every household in Trinidad and Tobago.
The Unit Trust Corporation has been in operation for over 37 years, and a lot of the systems which are in place have been here for quite a while. And management has recognized that where they would like to go in the future, the current systems would not take us there.
We needed to create a solution that allowed our customers more insight into their own investments, but that also allowed us to manage the investment process from the beginning all the way through to the end.
The technological improvements that we're embarking on are fundamental to how we have to move forward, and the need to select the right vendor, the right partner, the right product were critical.
We went through months and months of very detailed examination of all that there was on offer, and we were at that point convinced the Microsoft solution was the best solution to go with.
D365 was hands down the winner. All our employees, the team members who were involved in the process, loved the interface, loved the ease with which it can be used and the ease with which it can be configured.
These are the people who are going to have to be preaching D365 in the end. So they needed to be there in the beginning.
I can easily say that all our expectations were met and exceeded in this project.
The implementation of Dynamics 365 immediately gave us all of those benefits that we were looking for.
The new system that we have put in place will actually be able to assist us in terms of development of new funds and bringing those funds to market.
We can face the next 5 or 10 years with the type of solutions which will wow our customers. This is revolutionary change.
Every decision that we make is for the benefit of our unit holders and our potential unit holders. This project has been a milestone event in the life of the UTC to ensure that every household in Trinidad and Tobago has a hope of an investment future. Trust reaches every Trinidad and Tobago citizen in one way or the other.
The Unit Trust Corporation is one of the largest financial institutions in our country as well as in the Caribbean as a whole.
Our mission is to ensure the financial well-being and security of every household in Trinidad and Tobago.
The Unit Trust Corporation has been in operation for over 37 years, and a lot of the systems which are in place have been here for quite a while. And management has recognized that where they would like to go in the future, the current systems would not take us there.
We needed to create a solution